Hey everybody, the second Z9 teaser is here, and I think there's some really interesting things in this one. Okay, so let's break this teaser down. Just like we did with the first teaser, the response that I got from you guys was great. The comments and the discussion was great as well. So I think it's definitely worthwhile doing for this one because I think there's some really interesting stuff in this one as well. So let's have a look at what I found. I've watched this a couple of times. Let's have a look at what I've seen, what I've spotted, and see if you guys agree or see if there's anything else that you've spotted that I've missed. So this first scene for me was really important because it's actually the first time we get a good view of the inside buttons of the grip, so we can finally see that we have a 1, 2, 3 buttons on the inside of the grip, and I'm going to make a guess on the fact that that is function 1, function 2, and function 3. We talked about function 4 on the last video, and I feel like this is quite clearly where function 3 is going to be on the inside of that grip. It does also appear that it's far enough down in the grip that it would also be accessible from the vertical grip. So it's kind of like a function button that you can access from both grips, if that makes sense. Once I noticed that, I then played this clip, this single clip, back over and over and over again. And there was just something that wasn't quite right. There was just something that wasn't quite right about this clip. And it's the lens. Now, I have a 70-200 2.8 here. And this lens in this clip does not look like a 70-200 2.8. I've spent a lot of time with a 70-200 2.8. I've had this for a long time. I know this lens very well, and I'm fairly good at being able to spot different kit that people are using. I spend all of my time around camera kit. So it was quite obvious for me to be able to say that isn't a 70-200. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I'm happy to be wrong, but it looks like a different telephoto lens that we've never seen before. It doesn't quite look like a 70-200. And so that would then lead me to say, what telephoto lens is it? It looks too small to be a 200-600, which would only really leave a 100-400. Is this the first time that we've seen the Z 100-400? Quite possibly. And I feel like Nikon thought that they could maybe hide it in plain sight, and that clearly hasn't worked. So I feel like that is the Z 100-400 in this clip here, and there's another clip that I will show you that makes me think that even more. This next clip here, this is clearly a 70-200, so there's nothing really new to spot here. This is also clearly a 70-200 in this clip. Followed then by a slightly wider clip, nothing really new to see here, no real details that we can pull out from the camera's point of view, but this again is quite clearly a 70-200 2.8. This next clip here, this is again a good view of the inside of the grip, so we can see that function 1, function 2, and function 3 that are on the inside of the grip. Again, I'm guessing that it's a function 3. It could be a different button, but it would make sense considering that Z6 and Z7 have function 1 and function 2. Nikon would call that a function 3. This next clip, super close up. Obviously the lens is still a 70-200, and we are close up on the recording button. Now this is obviously linking into the rest of the video, so showing that the rest of the video is then going to be all about video rather than stills photography. So just before we jump into that video section, we get another clip of the back of the camera. This is probably the best view of the back of the camera that we've had so far. Also great at looking at what's going on with the memory card door, and we can quite clearly see that there's a lock on the memory card door as well. Clear view of all the buttons, all the layout. We get a clear view of the viewfinder. Interestingly, the dial on the left is set to continuous low, not set to continuous high. Again, this is all about video though, it's not about stills. Is there a high extended like there is in the Z6 and the Z7? Who knows? But the key thing to take away from this is that we can see that there is a lock on the memory card door, and there's also what looks like a Kensington lock point. This is very similar to the Kensington lock point that we have on the D6. So I think that is a Kensington lock point on the base of the grip as well. Now, the final exciting thing or final thing that I've spotted in this shot is the lens. Again, that lens does not look like a 70-200. It looks like a different lens. Now, the 70-200 has the on lens display, and there isn't a divot or a ridge behind that display, directly behind that display, whereas on this lens, there is. And I would go as far as to say that, again, this could be our first look at a new telephoto lens. I don't know which one it is, but I'm going to hazard a guess that it could easily be a 100-400, but that doesn't look like a 70-200 to me. So in these next clips, we then basically get a view of basically the back of the camera. We basically get a view of what the camera would look like when it's recording. Obviously, all of the information isn't there, but what we do have is two vital pieces of information. The first one is that we're recording in 8K. 4320 is part of the 8K resolution, so this is telling us that we are recording in 8K at 30 frames per second. Now, we don't know the other part of the resolution, so we don't know if it's UHD or if it's DCI. Now, the other exciting thing is that the time at the top. So the time at the top is obviously representative of how long the camera's been recording for. And this view currently is 29 minutes and 59 seconds. That's important because 29 minutes and 59 seconds, if you're a Z6 shooter or a Z7 shooter, is the cutoff point. That's where the camera will then cut off and you'll have to start recording again. But then as we go to the next frame, we're at 36 minutes. So quite clearly, Nikon are stating here that finally they've removed the 30-minute limit. I don't know why it's taken this long, but finally that 30-minute limit is gone. That's what it's implying, and I hope that that is the case. I really hope that is the case. As we then get onto the next clip, we then get up to 1 hour. Now, what I'm taking from this is that Nikon are trying to imply that you can continuously record over an hour's worth of 8K footage. And that's a pretty bold statement considering the issues that we've had in the industry around overheating. It's a pretty bold statement for being able to record that long in a hot environment. I'm guessing that this is recorded in Africa, not recorded in the middle of Norway or somewhere cold like that. So this is quite clearly recorded in Africa for long periods of time. It's Nikon effectively saying the Z9 isn't going to overheat. I would have expected that really. If the Z9 does overheat, that's a problem. The size of the camera, the ability to get rid of that heat is obviously way easier on a Z9 than it would be on a Z6 or a Z7. So I would kind of expected the Z9 to shoot for that long without overheating. So I'm happy that Nikon are effectively confirming that. We then go on to 1 hour 5, and we then go eventually on to 1 hour and 20 minutes of continuous recording. Now, I don't know if that's a limit. I don't know if that's going to be the final amount that you can record for. It might be that that's how long Nikon wanted to demonstrate that you can record for. But it's quite clear that Nikon are effectively saying that you are not limited by overheating. I actually think you're probably going to be limited by memory card space. Being able to shoot 8K for over an hour is going to require a pretty big memory card. So memory card space is probably what's going to be the limiting factor over anything else. Now, it does also raise other questions. Is this 8K recorded internally? Is it recorded externally? Is this 8K recorded in 8-bit, 10-bit? Is it 8K RAW? Is that 8K RAW internal? Is the 8K RAW external? The key thing here is we don't know the quality of this 8K. We don't know the bit depth. We don't know if it's internal, if it's external. All we can take from this is that we know now for definite that the camera records 8K at 30 frames per second at least, and it looks like we can record longer than 30 minutes, and it looks like we can record into hours without overheating. That's my takeaway from it. So to summarize, 8K, and whether Nikon wanted to or not, that lens isn't a 70 to 200. It's quite clearly something else. I don't know what lens it is, but that lens is not a 70 to 200. So this could be the first look at the 100 to 400, whether that was the plan or not, I don't know. That's what I've spotted from this clip. If there's anything that you think I've missed, if there's anything that you guys have spotted, please do let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for the response from the first breakdown that we did. As I said, the response was great. So let me know how you feel about this one. I think this one was a little bit better than the first one. It's really exciting stuff around 8K. Really exciting if that is a new lens. That would be great. I know there's a lot of people waiting for that 100 to 400, so that would be really interesting. As always, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and I will see you for the third teaser shortly. Goodbye.